belongs to you. That was in 1441. And so and Henry the Navigator was a Portuguese. So he began to try to encourage other Portuguese to go around and try to find some more slaves. So this is a good thing. We own all that land around there now. By 1487, the Pope then said, aha, so many people began to pick up slaves. He says, what I'm going to do now is put out a public declaration and officially declare slavery to be a legitimate enterprise. And the Catholic Church was the first one to do it. Now, why is this important? Because you see, up until that point in time, slavery was never based on skin color. Slavery was based on three things to put you into slavery. One was an indebtedness, where you owed somebody something and not paid it off. Two was that you was through religious persecution. Or three, you were a prisoner of a war or conflict, and you were now a captive, and they were forcing you into labor. Those were the only three reasons you could get into slavery, until the Catholic Church put out this declaration. And now they added a fourth variable, which says color is now a factor. Now that's very important, because the Catholic Church now had, in previous slavery, in earlier parts of the century, let's say immediately after Christ was born, the Catholic Church played a very pivotal role in saying, as a religious institution, we got an obligation to represent those who were enslaved. And the Catholic Church set up a system that they would go through, whether it was a Greek slave or a Roman slave. They looked after the rights of the enslaved, protected them, saying that even if you're a slave, there are certain things that people cannot do to you. The Catholic Church accepted that responsibility. Now, the Catholic Church now has condoned black enslavement based on skin color. That was totally different. But also, the first thing they did, they abandoned any interest in representing the interests of the enslaved, even though they had done it for everyone else. And all of a sudden, the problems began to develop in Africa. Other religions began to join in. So people say, well, Dr. Anson, how are they able to enslave us? Because we were doing some things wrong in Africa. As the other religions joined in to start enslaving blacks, so did other nations, so did other ethnic groups. And black folk were totally ill-prepared to deal with it, because we had been doing some things wrong in Africa ourselves. See, going back to about 765, the Muslims had been trying to get into Africa for the longest, because they'd heard about all the gold and silver and the wealth in Africa. And the Muslims had been going around, the Arabs had been going around Africa, trying to conduct holy wars against dark-skinned people to get access to the resources. And starting in 765, not 17, but in 765, the Arabs started enslaving black folk. They enslaved on an average of 1 million blacks every 100 years and shipped them out of Africa. So now if you start to count from 765 up to the present day, that's over 1,300 years. That means over 13 million blacks have been shipped out of Africa just by the Arabs alone. And Arabs are still shipping blacks out of slavery. If you go to Ethiopia and Mauritania, you'll now find, in Sudan, you still find blacks being sold by Arabs for actually about $475 a piece.
I'm not a racist person, nor am I a person that hates certain individuals. I love all of humanity. I want to see all of humanity making the new kingdom. But nevertheless, there is true Hebrews. There is a true people of the Most High that is scattered throughout the nations of the earth this day. It is not whom that many people believe they are, such as the so-called Jews in the nation-state of Israel that we so see before us right now. I would interject that the true biblical Hebrews are the so-called African-American people that are scattered abroad throughout the world. Now, I will show you through a mass amount of evidence that I'll put up on the screen right here, verses below, and you can do your due diligence and research these things out to see if they be so. It is very important that you understand who the true Hebrews are, because that end-time prophecy, lots of it, surround these individuals. I am a Gentile. I know exactly who I am, but it seems to be the one group of people in the world that have been, by the rest of the world, tried to be dumbed down to the fact or completely erase their history from history, is the African American people, so-called, that are scattered throughout the nations. Now, please understand, that not every single black person is a true Hebrew. But it is those that are under the curse of Deuteronomy 28. And you'll be able to tell by the time that I'm done giving you this information in this video who the true Hebrews are. And you may be one of them. So let's begin. In the early pictures that you would see depicted in worship places, churches, and things of this nature, as you can see right here in this image right here, and others that I'll continue to put up, that Messiah was depicted as a black person, you know, an African American person. And this is totally different to what we see as Roman Catholicism was further introduced and spread abroad throughout the world. We always see a white Caucasian Messiah being depicted. And I want to reiterate throughout this that I'm not being racist. I love every single person in humanity. It's very important we know who the true Hebrews are. And anyway, as time progressed, though, these paintings and the depictions went from the black African American features to a more Caucasian white feature. And this wasn't done overnight. This was a slow sifting process as to what we have today. Now in every church house and on their walls we see a white Messiah. And this could not be further from the truth. Now I'll put links in the bottom of the video description where you can go see a lot of these abroad on the internet. And I encourage you to research Google because there's so many remaining artifacts of this from centuries before. As we move forward, there is, after Noah come off the ark, and the sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, the sons of Ham is a guidepost that we can use to help us find the true Hebrews, because the sons of Ham, the true Hebrew Israelites, always blended with the sons of Ham. And I'll give you many examples of this. As we read in Genesis 10, it gives the genealogy, and so we can see the beginning of the division of people. But the Egyptians come from their father Ham. In Palestine, if you look at some of the people that are descendants from long ago, they're black. Although we have other people of ethnic background moved into Palestine today, the people that intermingled with the true Hebrews, the Palestinians, many of them are black. And that is from generations back. Not only this, but the scripture states that in Amos 9 and 7 that the Hebrews are like the Ethiopian to him. If we look in Ethiopia, I find that most people have no problem understanding that the people there are of black African nature. Now, the sons of Ham, though, as we find in the scripture, we can see that Joseph blended with the sons of Ham, because whenever his other brothers came to receive goods and merchandise to take back to help their family, they did not know that it was him. Now this could have not went down if he was of another ethnic background, whatever color that may be, to blend with the black African American Egyptian at that time. I'm sorry, they're not American at all, but the black African Egyptian. Okay, so Moses, and make sure to read the scripture as well, Moses blended with the sons of Ham, the Egyptians, because he passed as their own people. We can find this recorded in Scripture. In Acts chapter 21, we find Shaul, Paul, passed as a Egyptian, and was asked this because he spoke Greek. If a man spoke Greek and he was Caucasian color as me, the Roman soldier may have just thought, hey, he's a Greek. But he had to ask him because the ethnic color. Yahushua fled into Egypt. Well, his mother and father took him into the land of Egypt whenever Herod sought his life. Therefore, these people were able to blend and, look the same. This is so important to understand because not only is it found in Scripture, but even secular examples such as this right here, National Geographic, showed the black pharaohs of Egypt. See, before the Arab people came in and took over what is modern-day Egypt now as an ethnicity, the people that was there beforehand were of African black characteristic. This is so important to understand because when history is erased by the following generations, that is what is history. unless you do your due diligence and go back and search these things out. Moving forward, in modern Egypt, we find that the Egyptian premier Nasser spoke to the Israeli people at that time whenever they were returning to their said nation, and it was supposed to be the true Israelites. He said, "You left black, you came back white. We cannot accept you."
It's not by coincidence that all the history matches up perfectly with the Bible prophecies. It's not a coincidence. And then they push a doctrine on you in church talking about it doesn't matter. So then you never go and look for this information. Now you see exactly why they don't put none of this in black history, why they don't go prior to the 1600s. You start digging prior to the 1600s, and then you find out you come or descend from the Igbo tribe. You start doing your research. Well, let me find out a little bit more about this Igbo tribe. Then you find out that the Igbo tribe are known as fact descend from the 12 tribes of Israel. So then you say, hold on. Something's not right here. That's the exact reason why they don't go prior to the 1600s. You're not supposed to find out this information. They're supposed to keep renaming your nationalities every few years to cause confusion and to have you confused not knowing who you are. Each year, something else come out. First you called Negro, then you called color. Then 10 years later, they switch it to African American. It's all by design. Now you have to be asking yourself, if you are supposed to be the people of God, the chosen people of God, why is it that he continues to allow you to keep going into slavery after slavery after slavery? And why does he have you building up everybody's civilization off of the back of your slave labor? And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt show this people all these words, and they shall say unto thee, wherefore hath the Lord pronounced all this great evil against us? Or what is our iniquity? Or what is our sin that we have committed against the Lord our God? Then thou shalt say unto them, because your fathers have forsaken me, saith the Lord, and have walked after other gods, and have served them, and have worshipped them, and have forsaken me, and have not kept my law. What you're going to realize is that when Moses brought you out of the land of Egypt and you entered into the wilderness, you entered into a covenant with the Most High God, the creator of everything you see in heaven and in earth. You entered in a blood in and blood out agreement with the